If there's a theme for today's podcast, it is nothing makes sense.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of us is right here in the YouTube page for those of you watching me. And make sure wherever you put your comments, use that hashtag #EverydaySully so I get an idea of who is watching us every day. And also, I can find your questions. I do a little search. That's how I do. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the United States. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry rules. No purchase is necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. A lot of things to cover after a very busy and kind of crazy Saturday. Let's go quickly to the trivia question. Trivia question going into today's was, what Hall of Famer led his league in home runs in 7 consecutive seasons? And I immediately got a couple of people who assumed it was Babe Ruth. And nope, there was a couple of years someone else jumped in there. But Stephen Colatera got it right. It was Ralph Kiner. Ralph Kiner, 7 consecutive seasons, led the National League in home runs and later became a legendary and sometimes funny announcer for the New York Mets all those years. But yes, Ralph Kiner, Hall of Famer, 7 straight years leading the National League in home runs. Let's go over who owned baseball for, so that would be Saturday, the 23rd day. Oh my God, we are now in the last grasp of August. Mark Vientos homered twice, added another hit. The Mets pounded the Braves 9-2, kind of dusted themselves off. Jeff McNeil also had a terrific game. And good for the Mets because the Braves have been their tormentor for so long. They won those games, and the Reds have wet the bed against the Diamondbacks. So the Mets have given themselves a tiny bit of wiggle room. Not a lot, but at least a little bit of breathing room because they're about to fall completely out of it. Jack Leiter. There were a couple of people I could have gone for the American League pitcher, but Jack Leiter, he struck out 10 in 7 innings of 2-hit ball as the Rangers, who are hanging around, beat Cleveland. Cleveland is going to be kicking themselves because with the Yankees doing this recent face plant, Cleveland could have been gaining ground, but instead they had a walk-off loss one day. They got pounded the other day. They're going to be kicking themselves. Speaking of the Yankees and kicking themselves, Trevor Story kicked them when they were down, going 3 for 5 with a home run, and the Red Sox just humiliated the Yankees 12-1. I talked a lot about the Yankees and Red Sox the other day. We're not going to talk so much about it before, but I do have a segment at the end. We're going to cover the 12-1 game and at a slightly different point of view. And by the way, Yankee fans, if you were too horrified to look at the screen when the Red Sox it wasn't even the Red Sox clobbered. It was also the Yankees forgot how to play baseball. That's a running theme. I hope you didn't watch the Padres-Dodgers game because Nestor Cortez faced the Dodgers and took a perfect game into the 6th inning. You're thinking, the Yankee fans are like, we didn't want a perfect game. They wanted one out. They wanted one GD out last October, but lo and behold, when he faced Freddie Freeman this time, he took him deep, but to the deepest part of the ballpark. He allowed 1 hit, no walks, and got the 5-1 decision for San Diego over the Dodgers. We'll get to that game in a bit. Half wobs. Bobby Witt Jr. got 3 hits, but the Royals got doubled up by the Tigers. Royals lost an opportunity to gain some ground there. Also because the Mariners lost in extra innings to Sacramento. So a lot of teams are losing the chance to gain some ground there. Freddie Peralta threw 5 shutout innings, but guess what? The Giants beat the Brewers, break up the Giants. I mentioned the Mariners lost. George Kirby was great over 6 innings, but they lost 2-1 in extra innings. And Luis Garcia Jr., not the old man, He got 3 hits with a home run, but the Nats fell to the Philadelphia Phillies 6-4. That's who owned baseball yesterday. And yeah, the San Diego Padres have to give them all the credit in the world because they are, of course, the team that is sharing the division with the big bad Dodgers, the defending champion Dodgers, the team that everyone said it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. They get all the players, and they get the this, and they get the that, and they're just buying the championships. And here we are. The magic number is 32 for the Padres. Between now and the end of the season, now right now Los Angeles is the tiebreaker, but between now and the end of the season, for the final 32 games, the Padres just have to match the Dodgers, and they will be the National League West champions. And I'll tell you another thing. One thing we cannot do, we do this because we're creatures of habit, but let's be honest here. We cannot judge who won a trade deadline or who won this, that, or the other thing until we see how it unfolds. Do you know one of the biggest impact players who was acquired in the trade deadline was Ramon Loriano? Ramon Loriano has come out and played unbelievably well and had a huge hit yesterday in the game against Los Angeles, the victory against LA, the 5-1 win by the Padres that puts the Padres in late August in first place by themselves. Since Loriano was basically thrown in, the player who was the apple of their eye was Ryan O'Hearn, and Ryan O'Hearn got hit yesterday, and he's played well. O'Hearn's got a few home runs. He has an OPS of 877 in the handful of games he's played. But Loriano, who in his 21 games with San Diego has a 977 OPS, already has 4 homers, and is always involved in big rallies. Big rally after big rally. He's in the middle of everything. The 2 biggest impacts players who have been acquired this year were Andrew Vaughn and Ramon Loriano, just like we all expected. But you take a look now, and the Padres must have wanted to go into this series against LA thinking we got to win this series. Well, they have. So there is zero pressure. There is zero pressure on San Diego in this game. Now, remember, LA does have the tiebreaker. So the Padres have to finish ahead of LA at the end of the year to win the division. But Pivetta is pitching today against Yamamoto. Now, Yamamoto is a terrific pitcher. And he's probably who you want to have on the mound if you're an LA Dodger fan. But Pivetta's been terrific. And they could cancel each other out. And quite frankly, I trust the Padres bullpen a lot more than the Dodger bullpen right now. So if these 2 starting pitchers can cancel each other out and turns into a bullpen game, I'm handing it to San Diego. And let the record show, I live in Los Angeles County. My life is a lot easier to talk about baseball with people around me if the Dodgers are in it. So it's not like I'm actively rooting against the Dodgers. But like I said, I'm always rooting for chaos. I'm always rooting for the final few weeks of the season to be absolutely banana boats. And I can tell you right now, we're at the point of the year when you're in late August, you could start saying things like, if the playoffs started today, this and that and that and so. If the playoffs started today, the Dodgers would be in the wild card series on the road in Wrigley. The Mets would be in the wild card series on the road. I believe they would be against San Diego. And the Yankees would be in the wild card series on the road in Boston. How's that gone for the Yankees? So there's a much larger than zero chance, with all the people saying the big market, big spenders buy everything, that we will have 0 postseason games this year in New York or Los Angeles. That scenario is very real. If they all are the visiting team in the wild card series, and lo and behold, don't win the wild card series and get eliminated, then we will say, nope, no playoff games in New York, no playoff games in LA, no soup for you. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through the day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. And The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of the clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any tournament in the United States. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends July 31st, 2025. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense this year. I mean, beyond the fact that Andrew Vaughn and Ramon Loriano are the biggest pickups at the trade deadline so far, that the Yankees acquired every single reliever under the sun, and somehow their bullpen is worse. Here's something that makes zero sense to me. Zero. In mid-June, the Red Sox had just swept the Yankees, okay? Okay, so not much has changed. And right after the sweep, they dumped Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. Jordan Hicks was one of the few major leaguers who came over, but mainly was a salary dump. At the time, I absolutely throttled the Red Sox for that move. I throttled them because it made no sense. I know that they were butting heads with him, but he was under contract. He was raking. He was hitting a lot. And okay, so he was mad that Bregman was over at third base. He didn't want to try out at first base. Fine. Put him at first base. Or put him at DH. Just keep him at DH. Just sit there and keep hitting. And he got a huge home run against the Yankees. And off they dumped them to San Francisco, who at the time were a playoff team. Were one of the wild card teams. And I sat back and said, wow, I can't believe the Red Sox punted. And the Red Sox went on to lose 7 of their next 10 games. I said, I can't believe it. The Red Sox were putting together a potentially interesting run. And now here the Giants picked them up, got that big bat in their lineup, and things are going to go in ways that were very predictable. The Giants were going to take off. The Red Sox were going to flop. Since the Giants acquired Rafael Devers, they have the worst record in the National League. They've gone from a playoff team to sellers in about a month and a half. And now they're just playing out the string. Now, yes, they wound up beating Milwaukee the other day, but they're complete non-contenders at this point. And since the Red Sox traded away Rafael Devers for Jordan Hicks and a couple of cans of Sprite, they have the second best record in the American League. Now, there are other factors to that, but those are facts right there. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. That you look up and you say, all right, LA and New York may not host playoff games this year, but Milwaukee is certain to. And you look up and you say, okay, the Yankees go on a free fall, and the Texas Rangers have a healthy DeGrom and a healthy Nathan Eovaldi, so they're going to, and only half a game back, and then they go on a huge slide. Nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing. And I think at this point, we're just going to have to sit back in great wonder of the things that make no sense in this year. Because, quite frankly, this year has been weird. And it's going to be totally unpredictable. Because we're also going to see other factors coming about. Now, the Phillies got horrible news, and it's not really surprising. Once you hear things like blood clots and everything, Zack Wheeler's done for the season. And the team that I picked to win the World Series, and a team that I think would be a super tough team for even the big-time contenders like, those big market clubs like Milwaukee and San Diego, would have a real tough time if they were staring down a rotation of Christopher Sanchez, Zack Wheeler, Jesus Luzardo, Ranger Suarez, and Taijuan Walker as their number 5 starter. And, basically looking up and going like, okay, you remove Wheeler from that. That's still a damn good rotation, to be sure, but you've lost that insane depth that they had. And you're going to be handing the ball, hopefully hoping that Aaron Nola will be able to pick up the slack. And Aaron Nola has been just dreadful this year. And the minute I saw that, I said, oh man, there goes that season. And so what did Aaron Nola do? He pitched 6 innings and let up 2 runs. got the win. Not that I really care about wins anymore, but he picked up the slack. And Duran has come in, and since coming in from Minnesota to Philadelphia, Duran. Here's what Duran has done. He's pitched 9 games for the Phillies. He has 7 saves. He has 9 strikeouts in 7 2/3 innings, and 0 walks. He has done everything you could possibly ask. And you could make a strong argument that he's been one of the biggest pickups, because right now the Phillies do not worry about that 9th inning. This world where nothing makes sense, the Phillies could lose Zack Wheeler and still go on to win the World Series. Remember, the Texas Rangers lost Jacob deGrom a couple of years ago, and they went on to win it all. It's a shame because Zack Wheeler has been a player who has been, he's really had a terrific career. Remember, he was the player back in 2011 when the Giants were trying to repeat. They traded for Carlos Beltran, and whose contract was running out, but they want to have a big spark in their lineup. So they traded Zack Wheeler, who was a minor leaguer, to the Mets. And while Beltran had a good half season, the Giants missed the playoffs. He signed with St. Louis, and Wheeler has been pitching, full-time major league pitcher since 2013, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 8 or 9 really good years, including in 2021, where he was the runner-up for the Cy Young Award, and last year when he was the runner-up for the Cy Young Award. And he was putting together a season this year, leading the league in strikeouts and having another terrific year where he would have been a Cy Young contender as well. I don't think he would win, but he would certainly be in the conversation. And now he's had this big injury. He's quietly put together, if not a Hall of Fame career, then certainly that Hall of Very Good, that sort of pitcher with a huge peak like Valenzuela or Guidry or Hershiser or Saberhagen or Dave Stewart or Frankie Viola. The one thing that all those pitchers had that Zack Wheeler doesn't have is the World Series championship on their resume. And I thought this might have been the year where that happened. But alas, it's not. But because nothing in baseball makes sense anymore, I'm convinced that means the Phillies are going to win. Unless, of course, nobody can stop Milwaukee. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make our favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. So you can also find the link in the show notes. And thanks for helping us out. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So if you want to pick Mahomes as your MVP, boom, there you go. I'm going to crown the Buffalo Bills as Super Bowl champs because there's one thing I've learned over these years: the Bills never let you down. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, well, we got a full slate of games going on today, and thankfully a lot of the games are going to be day games. There was only one early afternoon game yesterday. That was the Red Sox-Yankee game. How could you have on a Saturday in August only one early afternoon game? That's completely crazy. We have the really early game that's starting actually very soon. Colorado versus the Pirates. That's really an impactful game. The Cardinals and the Rays, two teams who a couple of weeks ago were both in it, and now they're not. The Orioles have been playing the Astros pretty tough, and Rogers is pitching against the Astros. The Orioles are a team that everyone's sort of circling them. That's an easy win. That's an easy win because they're having a lousy season. They're filled with talented players, and they probably don't like being told that they stink. So look for them to be big spoilers down the stretch, just like the Braves, as Elder is pitching against Peterson. That should go to the Mets. Therefore, it's almost certainly going to go to the Braves. Suarez is pitching against Irvin as the Phillies take on the Nats. The Royals, if they want to catch up to anyone, Lugo has to beat Flaherty today as the Royals are taking on the Tigers. Gosman's pitching for the Blue Jays against the Marlins. The Blue Jays are padding their first-place lead there. The White Sox and Twins, that would be a great matchup if we had a time machine, went back to 2008. Robbie Ray, all-star, is pitching against Patrick of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Giants are going to try to upset them in that series. The Cubs, who are still still a wild card team, are handed the ball to Jameson Taillon in Anaheim. They won a big game the other day. Rangers and the Guardians, two teams that they need to go on a winning streak if they want to get a realistic shot of being in the wild card chase. Kelly versus Williams in that game. The Reds, who are really going to kick themselves. The Diamondbacks are another great example of a team that are filled with talent and probably don't like being told that they're punching bags. Well, they've made the life of the Reds very miserable these last few games. Singer's throwing against Gallen, and we'll see what happens there. The Mariners want to – they have their eyes on the Astros, and they're going to hand the ball to Gilbert as they're playing Sacramento. Lopez has pitched well for Sacramento. And, of course, the big game, Yamamoto versus Pivetta this afternoon, and the Dodgers want to leave San Diego with at least – they're a share of first place and have saved at least face for the final game. And the Padres are smelling blood and want to sweep. And of course, the Sunday night game, Rodon versus May. This has been a nightmare situation for the Yankees, who went in on a roll and thought they could put the Red Sox away. And instead, all the theories of the Yankees could only beat, bad teams are really coming to the forefront, as is their stupidity. Now, I was watching the Yankee Red Sox game the other day at my home, and my sons were at home with me, and neither one of them really care about baseball. But my son Matty did sit down with me, and he is a history expert and is obsessed with ancient Rome and ancient Greece and ancient Carthage and all this stuff. And as I'm watching that final inning, he sat down next to me, and he started giving me some baseball commentary. Now, you're going to hear a lot of commentary about the Red Sox-Yankees series from bloggers, from podcasters, from former players, from ESPN, from wherever. But I guarantee you, you are not going to hear this analysis. This is my son, Matty.
Okay, this is my son, Matty, and he is going to give us the best analysis as his doggy, Eleanor, is licking him. My son, Matty, is going to give his analysis of what he saw of the Red Sox-Yankee game so far.
Okay, so, and this is a hypothetical because the game hasn't ended yet, and this is...
It's 12-1 in the ninth.
Yeah, I know, but the parallel I was drawing was, it's very likely the Red Sox will win this, it's like at the end of the Battle of Cannae when the Carthaginians had surrounded the Romans in a killing field and they had killed 50,000 of them. At that point, it was done. But the thing that prompted him to turn on this recording was around the time of the First Crusade, a bit beforehand, the soon-to-be Emperor Alexios I was leading some, Roman, but we call them now Byzantine troops against the Normans, because the Normans had taken England and they'd taken parts of Italy, and they had big conflicts with the Byzantines, and he had lost an engagement with them, like getting his troops broken. But instead of retreating, what he did, all the way, he regrouped and had his heavily depleted men ambush the sides of the Normans as they came down on his main reserve that had been heavily taxed, and by the skin of his teeth, even though he had lost the engagement, badly at first, he managed to rout the Normans and hold on to the gains, hold on to his land. It's
so how does this connect?
So the reason I was thinking is that if and this won't happen, but if the Red Sox either really drop the ball or in the last, because the Yankees are now, hitting, they could, through their heavily depleted, he's got to catch the ball now, through their heavily depleted and undermanned force, if they win, it would be a lot like that.
If who wins?
The Yankees. If they pull out a victory, it'd be a lot like Alexios. But as it stands, this seems more like the aforementioned Battle of Cannae. Once the Carthaginians, Hannibal had surrounded the Romans, and we're killing them almost to a man. At that point, that's what this looks like right now. But it's actually it's not even that, because Hannibal took a lot of losses too. So this is like, I don't know, maybe Arauzio.
And so in Hannibal rode the elephants, right?
Yeah.
So he would be with the A's, because the A's symbol is the elephant.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. Here at Locked On MLB, this is the only podcast that compares a Red Sox Yankee game to which battles?
Battle of Kane. I also mentioned Arauzio, but the thing I mentioned with Alexios, I don't remember the name of the battle. So I'm comparing the Yankees to the Emperor Alexios I of the Byzantine Empire.
And by the way, the Alexios I could not pitch or field any worse than the Yankees did today in his current condition.
All right, I defy you to find one other baseball show that has that kind of analysis. Let's go to the trivia question. Trivia question is, who was the first Padre to lead the National League in home runs? There you go. The first Padre to lead the National League in home runs. Put that answer right down below. And thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. Watch it be the Phillies. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Talking about ancient battles and connecting it to the Red Sox and Yankees, that these small market teams are taking over, and we may not even see postseason baseball in New York and Los Angeles here because nothing makes sense. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm yours, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.